Welcome to Bat Therapy, mental health through the lens of comics and film. Be a fly on the wall or a bat in the cave, listening in on a friendship built out of a love for talking Batman, comics, and the everyday struggle to achieve mental health and happiness.
We're your hosts, clinical psychologist Dr. Amelia Brown and educator and comic aficionado Keaton Hopkins. Don't forget to follow us on YouTube and social media and find our Patreon at patreon.com/battherapy.
This podcast is about providing education and understanding and is not a replacement for mental health treatment or support. If you're needing help, go to bat-therapy.com for resources.
Yes.
Brand
oh
new
my
day.
God. Brand new day. Spider-Man, brand new day. Spoiler alert. Duh.
Yeah, if you haven't seen it yet, do better. But also, don't listen to
Yeah, I think this episode's
episode.
releasing at a point where you've had almost a month.
So,
Maybe
yeah,
just a few weeks, but still.
Oh, that's true. That's true. By the time this episode gets here, so the movie dropped like 3 days ago, but by the time you hear it, it should have been out a month. So hopefully,
No excuses.
no excuses. If you're listening right now, it's 3 days in, and the movie has already grossed $1 billion. So
Is it really?
yes, it's insane.
Well, I think, though, this goes to show, like, MCU, I think still people are worn out on it, but Spider-Man is different. And I know Sony and blah, 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 and all the history and blah, blah, blah. I don't mean that. I mean that Spider-Man has his own following in his own right, separate from all the MCU stuff. And I feel like that's shining through with that number. People aren't tired of Spidey.
Yep, it is the second highest grossing film opening of all time, only behind Avengers Endgame.
Wait, really?
Yes.
Look, I gotta be real. That surprises me. That really, okay, this is coming from someone who loved the movie, who rarely says this, but I would watch it again. I left and I was like, I want to watch it again. And I very rarely ever say that about a movie. But I'm surprised so many people have watched it so quickly.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, I think it's one of those things. Well, Spider-Man, actually, they left it on the kind of cliffhanger where you're just like, oh my God, I can't wait to see what happens next or where they go
That's
with
true.
this. Because
Yeah.
Spider-Man is like, he is, in my personal opinion, he is Marvel's favorite. Like, DC has Batman and Superman. Marvel has like Spider-Man.
Yep.
If you had to pick a Mount Rushmore of comic book superheroes, right? I feel like Batman's up there, Superman's up there, Spider-Man is definitely up there, and then the other spots people can fight all over Reddit about it, but those
I've never really thought about it, but I do think you're right. I mean, Spider-Man really does have a special place, and he's just, and this Spider-Man, he's just, okay, let's talk about the movie. I want to talk about the movie. Let's talk about how wonderful this movie was.
It is. It's one of those things. So I will say, this movie, I did have to suspend some belief because I'm guessing that Tony Stark still left him a buttload of money because I didn't see him doing any work. I didn't see him. He was just Spider-Man around 24/7, had all this tech gear in his room. Like,
He did have like an asbestos room or whatever, but that was the only suggestion of him struggling. So that's a fair point because so I mean, the spell's kind of a weird, complicated thing. So no one knows
sense.
he exists. But it's not that he lived the life of Peter Parker and everyone forgot he was Spider-Man, right? It's like Peter Parker also doesn't really exist.
Yeah, Spider-Man exists, but Peter Parker doesn't. And so I don't know what that means for the Social Security Administration. I don't know what that means as far as him going to school, which I'm guessing he just doesn't. He's
out of school by this point.
Maybe, but the thing is, like, throughout,
he'll have to get his GED now, right? Because at the end of the last movie, they were trying to get into MIT, which probably means they were about to end, but I can't remember if
graduate.
Yeah, I don't think they had actually graduated. So I started
Right.
rewatching the other movies, but I haven't gotten to that one yet.
And so
So,
there's a 4-year gap in between
yep.
the last movie and this one. And
Yeah,
so,
because Ned talks about graduating and stuff from
yeah,
college.
he talks about, yeah, because, and it's, I'm not gonna lie, it might be my favorite part of the movie. That like 5-minute montage that covered the 4 years where he was just going around whooping ass to Spider-Man. I loved it. I loved it. I was obsessed with the song that was playing. Like
The
him
music was
hitting
fantastic.
the music was
Great
great.
choices.
And I'm not like when they showed him in the winter, like still wearing like a vest to stay warm and like a beanie, and he's fighting Scorpion. And when he says, "Let's end this on a high note," and then hits him with a grand piano, like I absolutely lost it. And when Tombstone told him, I was like, how long would it take for you to hit the ground? Like, how much would it hurt? It's like, I don't know, you tell me. And then just hits him in the face with web. Like, it was hilarious because I love whenever they have Spider-Man's banter because that's one thing that that's the best part about the comics is either he's talking to himself or he's talking absolute trash to his villains. Like, he's just,
And Tom Holland, he's just I mean, I know he's like 30 now, and obviously the character has aged, albeit more slowly because of the blip and everything, but Tom Holland is so good at that youthful energy that
he's
people
great.
love about Spider-Man. I mean, obviously, this isn't the Spider-Man from, like, the Prime Universe or whatever you call it here, but, because he doesn't have the same, like, trauma story that you tend to think of with Spider-Man, but
This might be
he
worse.
really does
Sheesh.
he really does, though, nail that that style of Spider-Man that at least people that I knew growing up who really loved Spider-Man, like, the
Yeah.
reasons they would describe why they loved it, Tom Holland really nails.
Yeah. He nails it. And he so he had such chemistry with so many of the cast members because of course
Mhm.
him and Zendaya are, I believe, married now. And then him and John Bernthal go way back as well.
But yeah, I saw, was it them doing Hot Ones that was so adorable? There was something they did together, and I was like, "This is just the cutest thing ever."
So in his very first Spider-Man audition, when you see him like dodging stuff
Mhm.
that's being thrown and showing his acrobats, that is John Bernthal actually throwing stuff.
No.
Yes. Yes, I found this out the other day, and it made me so happy. Like, they actually go
This is, like, the cutest
back.
thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
which
they
is
did a movie so yeah, because when they were being interviewed, they talked about they did a movie before all of this
yeah,
together. Yeah. Wow, that's
yeah.
so cool.
And then, yeah,
Aw,
so
it all comes back around.
they've just been buddying up because him, John Bernthal, and Zendaya, they were all, like, in the Odyssey together as
Mm,
well. So all 3 of them currently have 2 movies at the top of the box office right now. Must be nice. Like,
sitting pretty.
yeah, sitting pretty, just doing great. Yeah, and so it was such a good movie. It was such a I loved the message that it had
Mm.
about like how no man is an island, not even the Punisher. Now I'm not gonna lie, and I knew it was gonna happen. They did PGify the hell out of Frank Castle.
Okay, yeah, but they did it hilariously, like, when he's about to drop an F-bomb and he gets webbed on the mouth, that was
Yeah,
hysterical.
they did it.
Or, he runs off to do his killing, so you don't see.
Yeah, and that was one thing that I thought was really funny when they were showing him, and one of the other funny scenes is when Spider-Man grabs his gun and then he immediately picks up another one
Yes. Yep, yep.
because I'd seen that clip online and I had just assumed that someone had looped it in a perfect way to make it look like that. I didn't
Yeah.
realize that's actually
It
how
was
it
actually it was
happened.
gonna
It was like
so
he
good.
actually grabbed another one.
It was so good.
And it was one of those things, like I said, I had to suspend a little bit of disbelief because deep down, like if Punisher was just going around murdering everyone, Spider-Man would have webbed him up right along with Tombstone and Scorpion. Like, you can't just keep doing this, Frank. Like, come on, man.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's fair. I remember thinking to myself, like, the day after, I was like, "You know what? I'm sure there are things about this movie that if I wanted to, I could break apart," which normally that's the first thing I do. I'm like, "Oh, well, that's not realistic," or "This thing over here." And with this one, I was like, "No, I'm just happy to be a part of it." There was
Well,
something
yeah.
about it. And you know what? I think part of it for me as a psychologist, I was sucked in because you were talking about the whole theme of this movie, like like torture. Look, he pulled a Batman on me, all right? He's
He
like the
did.
tortured superhero who, because of all of the trauma, he's trying to protect everyone and stay secluded and just do his thing, focus in on it. All he's doing is the superhero stuff to the detriment of himself. I This movie I honestly, while it was going, I expected him to, like, get a substance use disorder. I fully thought that they were gonna go that route. I think they were very
Oh,
close to
wow.
it. Like, when he started grabbing the pills, he was in pain and stuff, I was like, "Ooh, where might this go?" I was very
Oh, no.
intrigued
That would have
by
been
his
dark.
story. That would've been dark,
Would
and I
have
would've
been
loved
dark.
it.
Not
Look, what like
Spidey and opioids. Oh, no.
Yes!
Oh, my
Hey, you
God.
know what?
Oh, God.
It
I didn't even
happens
think about
to
that.
all
Ooh.
sorts of people, right? But, like, what you said, I think, is so key. So what I find compelling about that storyline, whether it's Bruce Wayne or whether it's Peter Parker or whoever, I can't tell you the amount of people that I work with where they are struggling and they want to reject society, be secluded, stay to themselves, whether it's trauma or anxiety or they just struggle to connect to people, whatever it is. And they push all of that away and they just try to be by themselves. And it loops just like you see with Peter Parker. They did such a wonderful job with it. It's not how we're built. So you start to degrade and you can't manage things and you don't have the support you need. And a lot of times it then loops into depression
Mhm.
and mood struggles and all these things. And I thought they did such a wonderful job of showing that within the storyline of this movie. I loved it.
Yeah. It was really good. I, so I one thing I do really love is that they showed these characters that we've been following actually growing up, because the last
Yeah.
time we saw them, they were young adults in the sense that they were finishing high school, but what we saw was them actually at this point where they were living their lives. Mary Jane is like, I don't want, not Mary Jane,
MJ.
MJ, because in
Yeah.
this universe, I think her name's actually Michelle, like Michelle Jones Watson. I think that's it. Like, not Mary Jane Watson. It's like Michelle Jones Watson, like hyphenated Jones Watson. But MJ, like, she's like interviewing for jobs and she's like, it was just some corporate thing. I didn't want to do it. And
God, I love her.
they dropped some hints. They dropped
Hmm?
some hints in there because one of the things she says is like she was like into genetic engineering before she got into computers. And so there's a part of me that was thinking this job interview might have been at Oscorp. And
Ah, that
yeah,
would make sense.
I thought about it. I thought about it.
That would make sense.
I was like, man, that'd be cool. I'm like, what do you mean you were you were into genetic engineering before? Like, were you?
Okay,
Because
so I
this is
did
right
admit
up
it.
your alley, you badass. Like,
So, admittedly, though, like, that line, I side-eyed Bill because, it's kinda like saying, "I have an undergraduate degree in psychology," or, "I took a psychology." It's like, how like, girl, if you just, like, dipped your toe in, but you didn't even complete an undergrad degree in that, like, how much do you really know? But, I mean, I know that they're, like, all super smart characters or whatever.
the number of times when I tell people, I see, this is why I don't hardly tell anyone about our podcast. It's because one, people always make a face whenever you say you have a podcast and like, oh boy, here here we go. And then on top of that, I'll be like, oh, it's a psychology podcast. And I'm like, from a comic book, I'm like, no, I have a friend that is a doctor. It's not the same. Like I go and then I go on a rant, and at that point they're like, I don't think I want to listen to it. I'm kind of scared of you right now. Like, yeah, it's people just
We
make
got
a
to work
face
on your elevator pitch.
Yeah, people make a face, and so I let my friends do it. My friends are like, he has a podcast, and I'll just be sipping my beer, and I'm like, I do indeed.
And then they hear you talk, and they're like, heck yeah, you do. Your
if
voice is built for it.
If you want to know about it, like it's out there. This was called, but yeah, how's your day today? Like I'm so bad at like promoting
but like
promoting the podcast, just because I feel like it turns into this thing where I do what I end up always doing. I'm like, yeah, we break down mental health through the lens of da. My friend Dr. Amelia Brown. Like I'm not, this isn't, and I have to say it, so I'm not saying it the way I say Dr. Phil or Dr. Oz. Like, no. This is an actual, this isn't a psychology podcast with me and Miss Cleo. Like, okay, like this is legit. Like I learn things. I cannot express this enough. Like we are certified.
Like MJ, only because she and Ned and Peter all seem to be like wicked smart, so she can get away with it a little bit. But when she was like, I almost majored in this, I'm like, okay, so what?
And it's one of those things, though. I'm like, maybe she's like Shuri. She's just like this badass that's just like, yeah, I could become if Tony Stark could do it, like, you know. Like,
so I think that's what they were going for. Like, this is a super genius kind of person. But I just side-eyed Bill because it's like saying I took a few psychology classes, so
yeah,
I can give someone therapy advice now, you know.
But I do love, so one thing that I think this movie did a really good job doing is showing the physical and mental toll of being in solitude.
Yep.
And not having anyone.
And we mentioned it with Peter, but and you mentioned with the Punisher, also for Jean Grey, who I did not see coming in this, but I was pleasantly surprised. You didn't care for that?
It got spoiled for me.
I just avoided reading anything.
It got spoiled for me, and it was one of those things too. I'm like, okay, there's like 7 redheads in the MCU. Like there's like 7 redheads in the Marvel universe. 6 of them are Jean Grey variants. One of them's Mary Jane. Who could it be? Like it was. They're not going to bring back Wanda. Like it was one of those things. It's like process of elimination. Who could it be?
Yeah.
And it's funny because I laugh now because there's this old clip, because Sadie Sink was in Stranger Things. She played Max. And there's this old clip when all of the kids are at the table and they're reading the final episode reading, and all of them are so sad. And you see Sadie, and she's kind of like just like smiling and taking it all in. And I'm like, you know, you have a job. Like you.
You're like, suckers.
I look at that now, and she's like, yep, I'm doing just fine. I'm doing just fine because notice the X-Men is plural. It's not going to be one movie. Like,
yeah. It's like
whenever they get around to it.
Yeah, if you're Jean Grey, then theoretically, that's good for
this
a few.
This is a multi-picture thing. You're going to be around. You're going to stick around for a bit.
That's hilarious. But yeah, she also had that same isolation going on. I mean, she had her sister, but this whole thing is that she's lost her sister and trying to get her back. And she's also working in solitude. In her defense, she's not like anti getting help, but she also doesn't try very hard to maneuver it.
This is something else I'm laughing at. So Tony Stark is responsible for everything that Spider-Man has gone through so far, because it was Damage Control that first fired Vulture.
Okay.
Right? Then
it was. Yes.
Then in the next movie, Quentin Beck and everybody that was working with him had all been done wrong or fired by Tony Stark.
That was so funny. I was rewatching that one yesterday, and I was like, I forgot how hilarious this part was when they're just, like, all showing their connections. Yeah.
And then the third movie, it's all repercussions from that and everyone finding out he's Spider-Man. And then in this one, once again, damage control. And so
Well,
I
and not to
laughed.
mention Tony
Yeah.
will be like, "Let me give you some super high-tech technology before you're ready for it."
Tony was so irresponsible with Peter. I'm like, yeah, man, this is you got some work.
So, I think the struggle is that he really believed in this kid, but Tony is so excited, I don't think he puts on the brakes very well.
Well, it's also one of those things like rewatching the first movie. It's like, dude, you have to give regular love before tough love. Like it needs, like you haven't shown any like love yet.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
you just, you're just being a dick to this child.
Yeah, I think he realizes it later.
Yeah, he does.
But yeah, Tony definitely, like, he pulls him into the Civil War stuff of all times to pull in this kid for things. And then, yeah, I agree with you that Tony had to find his sea legs a little bit, so to speak, with how do I maneuver this with a teenager?
Yeah.
And also probably struggling not to project his own stuff onto this super smart teenager who can run circles around most anyone because he's, like there's a scene where he's trying to go after Mysterio and he's like using all the tech and like adjusting his the tech on his uniform, and Happy's just like smiling and looking at him. And like, there's obviously
Like,
these
look, he's just like
similarities
Tony.
where,
Yeah.
yeah. So it'd be, I think, tricky for Tony to kind of separate some of that a little bit. But you're right. Yeah, he struggled a little bit.
Yeah. And it's taking it, it's taking a physical toll on his body. And you see that. And he gets to a point where you see him basically snap. It's like this animalistic form he goes into, which
Yeah.
it was interesting how they did that. I did not think they were going to bring organic web back. I thought that was going to remain
I know.
a
I love
Toby
how he's just like,
exclusive thing.
ew, 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 ew.
Yeah. Yeah. I was like,
That-
this is different.
I found that very interesting, and they included that clip about spiders and molting and, different transitions of their form, which I thought was an interesting way of talking about how because at first it seemed like it was a stress response and he was not taking care of himself, and therefore his balance between arachnid and human got out of whack. But then as time went on, it was more of a, change happens, and it makes sense that there are natural changes with this process, and it's more about like how do you have the supports to help you through that. So I thought that was it was cool how they were toying around with, that question mark of like what is happening for him physically.
And it was about one of the things they showed too, because the first time his eyes go black, I'm like, oh snap, is this a supernatural crossover? Are Sam and Dean about to show up? Because his eyes went black, and I'm like, oh, this is like possession. I see it. I've seen this before. But yeah, and it was so great because finding out like over these 4 years, the city has also just fallen in love with him. Like he has just been. So this is what happens when one, you don't have a support system, you don't have friends, you don't have hobbies, and you're a workaholic, because he has been going nonstop. Like anytime you call a cop and the cop is like, "Hey, you should take it easy."
Yeah.
Like, bro,
Yeah.
you really need to. When the police detective in the movie is telling you to take a break, like. Yeah, because at the same time, it's one. I wanted that police to be like, "Hey, take a break. This isn't Gotham." Like I wanted her. I know she can't. I know she can't say it. Like I know she can't say it, but also, like, come on, this isn't Gotham. Like you can take a.
Can we talk about how I was waiting so long to hear her call her kid Miles, and then I was like, ugh, y'all did that. That was mean.
Colleen was too. Colleen was like, I bet this Miles Morales. I bet this Miles Morales. I was like, that's not Miles Morales. I'm like, nah, they're not gonna do it.
Yeah, but they float Lucy through all the movies, so maybe eventually we'll get.
Yeah, and because Well,
or Silk, excuse me.
in the first movie, they introduced his uncle Aaron played. It was Donald Glover. He played the character that is Miles's uncle in Into the Spider-Verse that
Yeah.
becomes the Prowler. And so
Yep.
they've introduced him into
That's
the
true.
universe.
That is true.
And he even makes
he was.
mention of, oh, I have a nephew that stays over in that neighborhood. Like, yeah. And
You're
so
right.
it's there. It is
I'm
there.
so ashamed because I rewatched that the other day, and I'm like, you are so right. How did my brain not put that together?
Yeah.
Thank you
And
for
so, yeah. And so
looping that. Yeah.
it is there and he is coming because I
Yep.
think it's one of those things.
I want Spin. I want Silk. I want
Yeah.
I want it all.
All of it.
want all of
Spidey and
it,
his
all of
amazing
it.
friends. All of it.
There you
Just do
go.
it. Yeah.
I had someone ask my daughter if she'd watch because she was wearing a Spidey shirt, and they were like, "Have you watched Spider-Man yet?" And I'm assuming they meant the new movie. I'm like, dude, she's 3.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. And so I think these movies have a lot of potential because some of the actors that they used in this, I'm like, they wouldn't just throw that person in there just for one scene. I feel like they're going to be back. Like, I have a feeling that MJ's boyfriend,
Mm-hmm.
I have a feeling
It felt like something was there.
yeah. I'm like that jawline. Like you'll be back. You'll be back. You just that facial hair is a little too good. You'll be back.
Yeah,
I see
you're
you.
gonna be back. You're gonna be
Yeah.
back.
I don't know what you're gonna do, but you'll be back. But it was just they just did a really good job showing solitude in this movie. And one thing I'll say is they did the same thing when we recently talked about Punisher One Last Kill. They did a really good job showing like, hey, this is the effects of long-term solitude. But the thing about Spider-Man that I found interesting was this was also a result of fear because it's not that he didn't want to tell them. He sat on it. He kept the letter. He sat on this and thought about it days on end for over 4 years. And it was fear of them getting hurt that kept him from going. And the thing, it's really funny because I always laugh whenever a hero is saying like why they did something and they don't tell the big picture. Because he was saying, MJ, oh, I didn't tell you because I was trying to keep you safe. And it's like, yeah, you should also throw the part in there about the universe about to implode if that didn't happen. Like maybe make mention of that.
Like she very quickly, which I think is consistent with her character, she very quickly shifted from like how could you make a decision like that for me to in order to do that, there must have been something big going on. But then like after that, your choices of like not telling me from that
Yeah.
point on. And so the thing is that I do absolutely agree that fear was a big piece. I think it also, when Jean Grey is so mean and cruel to him
That was brutal.
and plays things out as MJ.
God.
And so I think also, I don't think the fear of them being hurt was all of it. Now, granted, I mean, Aunt May died, and I think that absolutely that was a big part of it. But look, I understand his smarts are in like tech and biology, chem, and all that stuff, but like he's a smart kid. I guess not kid anymore. He's a smart guy. I'm guessing that there at least was a little bit of fear also of what happened with MJ, which is they've lived life, and he's he has a completely different sense of reality, and the feelings he had for her and for Ned being so strong. And then the longer he waits to tell them, the more he can see through like watching them or social media and stuff, the more he sees that they have this life completely separate from him. And so I think the fear of not being able to bridge that gap was absolutely a part of it, in addition to the fear of more loss.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just, yeah. And so and I love, oh my gosh, speaking of Jean Grey, like the most messed up part to me was when he's on the roof with MJ and he's hugging her and talking to her. And all of a sudden he's hugging her. She goes, go ahead, Peter. touch her. I was
So
like,
freaking creepy.
this is diabolical. Like, this is
That
so
was
mean.
so cruel. That
It was
was
so cruel.
and when he's like, I know that you've never loved anyone the way that I love this person for you to have done that to me. And I mean, like, of course she loves her sister and whatnot, but like that was
Diabolical.
don't get on her bad side.
That was diabolical. And the
Yeah.
thing is, but this is what makes this Spider-Man so great, because even at the end of this movie, he had every right to be completely enraged with her. And when she went inside his mind, what did she see? Compassion.
And you know what?
Like, it was
He
it was so good. He's the
It was
best.
so good. He shared the most important memory he had. He shared Aunt May with her in a very personal way. He literally let her take his place and try and get some of that caring adult presence that she didn't get, which is so important when it comes to children growing up. There were so many times I almost cried during this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was definitely one of he cared so much and saw her as a person. Now, granted, he made mistakes before that and was working against her and then realized what was going on and that he was trying to help her sister. But I agree with you that there's something special about Spider-Man where there are other superheroes that would have helped her. It hits different
Yeah.
with him.
It does. It does, because he knows how she feels. And the thing is, the thing that they also do is they also talk about, and they did exposition so well in this movie, because when she's having a conversation with her sister, they straight up mention, oh yeah, our mom that loved us so much just kicked us out because of the special abilities. Just kicked us out. And you keep thinking, and the way they did it too, you keep thinking like, oh, what is this VMAX? What is it going to be? What is it going to
Mhm.
be? What's in the vault? And come to find out, it was just her sister pushing that final message, like, this is where I died,
Yeah.
like right here. And so it was very,
So sad.
it was very, very sad. And so I understood her her reasoning for why
Yeah.
she was doing all
I
of
will
this.
say, I clocked from the beginning that you couldn't trust Bill Metzger.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, nope, this guy can't be trusted. Nope,
No, absolutely
no,
not.
no, no,
As
no.
soon as he was like, "Oh, the hand are just misunderstood," I was
It's
like,
like, oh
"No,
hell no.
no, that's
He's like, we
definitely
found a
not
way to be on the same page. And I was like, you're evil. Okay,
so
I'm watching
evil."
you.
Then, right,
I was like,
right,
nope, not
like,
this
oh yeah,
guy.
like, yeah, we're just using Shocker's gauntlets here. We jump cars with them now. It's totally
And that
safe.
was
And
the thing
like,
too, is it's like there's never been a storyline in these superhero movies where
never,
you take the technology and you change it and it's only for good.
right. Right.
Nope,
It's like
something's
you don't,
bad's
like,
gonna
you're
happen here.
not using the Tesseract for clean energy. Get the hell out of here. Like, it's a running theme in the ECU. Like, no, 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 no. That's not a thing. Yeah. And so it was, yeah, as soon as they introduced them with damage control, I'm like,
Yep,
that's a
yep.
mighty
I
big
was like,
corporation.
and then they had that big vault, and I was like, "Oh, you know people are behind that wall. You know they've got people captured back there."
Yeah. And but I do love how, the MCU, they did a great job with like introducing characters that we hadn't
Yes.
seen in a while.
Yep.
And they
In
were
a
all
way, though, that
characters
you were
that
like,
were,
"Ooh."
yeah, because Peter is having trouble with handling this new side of him. Who can he talk to? Oh, Bruce Banner might know a thing or two about that, which I really wish that they would go back and give him either his own movie or series, because I really want to know what happened, that
Yeah.
the last time we saw him, he was completely in control, and now he wears an inhibitor to completely hold it
Yes,
back.
I mean, there was Smart Hulk, there was I agree with you. It'd be very interesting to have more of a sense of his trajectory because you only see these snippets of him. Also, they're suggesting that there's I guess I'm expecting for this to make sense why they're doing it. But they mentioned, I don't know if you spotted it, but they said that so he hulked out and then he was Bruce Banner again. And I believe they said that he was sent to a psychiatric hospital or a
I
psychiatric
think so.
facility.
I think
And
so.
so obviously, as a psychologist, I clocked that and I was like, that's weird. So either they sent him to the incorrect place, which, let's be real, happens a lot in all of the, especially in like movies and TV. But I like to think that maybe it's suggesting something else going on. Because, like you said, there are all these points where his relationship with the Hulk is completely different. They're integrated, then he's got the inhibitor, and then just all of these different things going on that we don't have a good picture of. And I'm
Hmm.
wondering if there's something to that story that could better explain why they'd send him to a psychiatric facility, which has
Yeah.
more to do, of course, with like mental health related stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I did really like that because I caught that too. I'm like, oh, good. They're not just throwing them in a prison cell. They're like doing what one should do in this event.
Maybe. I don't know. Like, look. So, I feel like you need, like, a 3rd facility, although then you've gotta be I don't know, there's all sorts of things where you gotta be careful of, like, getting into, like, genocidal, like, weird territory and
Yeah.
eugenics and stuff, but
Yeah.
which they hey, I liked how they were being mindful about eugenics type stuff in this movie,
Yeah.
but because okay, if you're trying to maneuver like superpowers or things like that, there absolutely could be mental health components in terms of like how do you manage it? How do you maneuver it? How do you figure out how to work it? But that's not always going to overlap with things like anxiety, depression, bipolar, et cetera, et cetera. You know? So I don't know. I feel like there would need to be a 3rd kind of facility aside from like, okay, here are the people who are using things to be detrimental, and then they go more like prison system, right? And then you've got, okay, there's like mental health pieces that are factoring in, and we need to help people be able to maneuver that better. Then you've got your psychiatric unit. Like, what if you have people where they're struggling with the powers or controlling it, but it's not necessarily due to like mental health stuff? I
Right.
don't know. I don't know if you would
Yeah. Like how
fit
that
in,
works.
so to
Yeah.
speak, with the treatments for psychiatric stuff. I don't know. It's a good
Yeah.
question.
Yeah. But yeah, I thought that, yeah, it was interesting when they did say it was Jean Grey. I was actually surprised because normally her primary ability is normally like telekinesis, where she can
Yeah,
move stuff with her mind. And then later on, she develops some telepathy. And
yeah.
so it was
But this is
interesting.
obviously like a different multiverse than our usual. So it's nice because they get to play around with characters and we don't get mad about it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Though I would do whatever we want. Who cares?
Because yeah, I
Because,
also didn't clock it because the pattern of powers wasn't what you normally see. But when
yeah.
it explained it was her, I was like, oh, I see what you're doing. It tied in enough to work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it was very interesting the way they did it because also in the comics, she does lose her sister Sarah. But in the comics, if I remember correctly, nerds comment on this and tell me if I'm wrong here, but if I remember correctly, Jean Grey's sister was not a mutant in the
Mm,
comics, but she loved her sister and she was a pro mutant activist that ended up being killed by anti-mutant extremists.
gotcha.
Yeah. And so the backstory didn't really change as far as like, oh, Jean Grey and her sister love
Yep.
each other very dearly.
Yep.
And so they kept that, and I am glad that they showed like the bond that they had because
Yeah.
it made you understand Jean Grey a lot more. Now, what I will say is she definitely just made that guy get hit by a car that one time. That
Look,
wasn't very great.
this Jean Grey has definite Magneto vibes.
Yeah. yeah, they're gonna have to keep an eye on that one for
Yep.
sure.
Yep.
For
Yep.
sure.
Most definitely. Yeah,
Yeah.
I it was definitely giving off this vibe of, like, Spider-Man's the Xavier side of things, and she's the Magneto side in this multiverse. Yeah, 'cause yep, she ain't gonna hold back, and she unfortunately has earned a pretty brutal sense. She's very capable of what people can do to
Yeah.
hurt one another, and it's
Yeah.
hard to but the good news is that she now has experience with Peter, and Spider-Man where she's seeing the other side as well, where
Yeah.
she did
And
aside from her sister, she wasn't able to see that before.
yeah. And so this was a movie like and the thing about this movie that I really liked is everyone grew because Peter certainly grew. He learned to embrace his powers. Jean, by the end of this, she grew. She's like, okay, they're still good. There's still hope in the world. Frank Castle
Yeah, so
also
cute.
also grew. I, it was cute. It's still a little bit weird. It's a little bit bizarre because this is somebody that has killed hundreds of people. And at the end, like when he's it's like I said, I had to suspend belief a
I
little
hear
bit
you, I
because
hear you.
he's just rolling through the street, just shooting up the place, shoots Spider-Man, brings him into the hospital. I'm like, no one's clocking that this is Frank Castle.
They
And he's
are,
like,
that's
hey,
why they're leaving him alone.
oh, maybe that's what it is. All the cops are like,
They're like,
oh
"Oh,
wait,
we're not touching this."
I have his shirt. I have his shirt in my closet. He's just like me. Right. All the cops are like, no, leave him alone. He's one of us. Like,
Ugh.
oh God.
Yeah,
Uh
there definitely is a lot of growth in this movie.
yeah.
I did wanna bring up one character we haven't talked about. Yelena. Loved her cameos. I don't know if it's cameo if
Yeah.
she might have
I
been
think
in
it
it more
yeah.
than you would count as a cameo, but
I
so,
think it
okay.
counts. Her office.
Psychologically speaking, her office is brilliant. Like, so her office is like I forget what it's a bathhouse, is that what you call those?
It
Like,
looked like just like a spa.
it might have been a spa or it might
Yeah.
have been a bathhouse, I couldn't
Yeah,
really
something
tell,
like that.
but it's a private space, but it's you're gonna get people completely thrown off. It's a completely different environment than they expect. You're relaxing them in some ways while also tipping them off their game. People aren't used to, like, having to hang out in the nude, just, like, doing whatever. I love it. It's quirky, it throws people off, it has the advantage of, like, checking people for weapons and bugs and stuff, and
Yeah.
I just it was so Yelena, I loved it. It was great.
Yeah. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, no notes on her character in this
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah, it was a whole lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. I definitely and I loved her reasoning. She's like, "Yeah, it also lets me see that you don't have any weapons or anything." And yeah, and so I did love that. And even she is making a note of, dude, you need friends. Like you didn't
Yeah.
there's no Mrs. Spider-Man. Like everybody in this movie
What
is
did she
trying to
call him?
tell
Like,
Peter,
sad man or something like that? I
yeah,
forget what she
something like
called
yeah.
him.
And like
Oh, love it.
even but
She's so
even
Slavic,
she's
it's great.
yeah, even she's like, I mean, I even have a team. Like, dude, you got to do something. And it was bad because like essentially Peter is more or less just stalking his old best friend
Yeah.
throughout. Like no one I'm like, yeah, he's just like he's following them on social media and keeping up with what they're up to. And I'm like, that's a little bit odd, but I get it. There's if yeah, this is okay, I guess. The lying about who you are and going to their parties, like that is a little bit it's a little
I mean, at
Netflix
least he, like,
documentary, but it's okay.
yeah, at least he unexpectedly came across Ned, and then he just couldn't help himself, but I agree that that tipped a little into yikes territory. Yeah, it is
Do
funny
love
how
that he
because
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, because Yelena had her own story of, like, trying to come into her own and find her people and everything, and so it's interesting to see her go into
Yeah.
this kind of
She's
like
like,
almost mentor of like, hey, this
I've
isn't
learned
how this works.
I've learned my lesson. People
Hmm.
need friends, right? And another thing that just solidifies that this guy, Peter Parker, is the best. Afterwards, he even tells MJ, like, by the way, I kissed you and just, I thought it was you and I just needed you to know.
I loved
And I
him
was
so
just like,
much. I know. I
perfect,
know. I was like,
perfect,
way to be like a
the
really,
best.
I know. I was like, that's the kind of men women want to be around. That,
Like,
like, I
yeah.
thought that was so amazing. I agree. That really stood out to me. I was impressed by that moment.
I really also loved like when he drops her off and takes her home and she asks him if he wants to come up and then him and Ned just like build Legos together and it was just such a natural bond and such a natural friendship. I loved that
Yeah. And
so
she even
much.
was,
Like
she
drawing the
mentioned
picture
it was
of
like,
him.
yeah. So that reminds me of one of my favorite, if not my favorite moment. So near the end of the movie. So, okay, he talks to MJ, she finds out, da da da. And she's like, I'm sorry, your spell worked. And I don't have those memories and da 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 da. And then at the end, he does this little handshake with Ned, and I was like, he's the soulmate. He's the one that like
Yeah.
the memories pull for. And I was like, that was perfect. And it
Yeah.
had me
And it was
tearing
like
up all over again.
and it was one of those things I'm like, so was it muscle memory? Like it like there's so many
That would make sense. Yeah.
it still left a lot to be explained.
So it did. And so granted,
Perfect
remember
though.
remember that MJ accidentally called him Peter when he was leaving as Spider-Man, and
Right.
Ned clocked that.
Right.
And then later, so I think you have a really excellent point here. So aside from the fact that I believe that they're just meant to be besties forever, and that's the reason, if we want to go the scientific route, so he already knows his name's Peter, and you had a great point that there is a different kind of memory for things like riding a bike,
Yeah.
typing a password, doing a handshake. That's a different kind of memory than like the narrative kind of memory of like remembering details about a friendship or events that have happened in your life. So I think that that's a really great point where if we're looking at a perspective of just like scientifically, if there's no difference between her and Ned and their connection with Peter, that the combination of her giving that snippet of his name and having motor memory where he's got a procedural memory where he's like going through the steps of doing a physical
Yeah.
activity, and
Yeah.
then that ties into his other memories. He starts looping it all together, and it helps pull something. So potentially, I guess the spell doesn't completely eradicate like the procedural or the like motor type memory of
Right.
movement. I think that's a
Yeah.
excellent point. I didn't think about that before.
And yeah, and well, and it was one of those things like, do they remember? Don't they remember? Because one of the things I also noticed is during the like psionic attack
Mm,
when MJ is freezing everybody, when not MJ, but
Gene.
when Jean Grey is freezing everybody, MJ is crying.
Yep.
And it wasn't one of those things where, oh, it was causing her to cry like the attack. She was crying before the attack. And if you notice, she was holding the gift that Peter gave
I
her
did notice the Black Dahlia
In
necklace.
Europe, right?
Mhm.
And he
The
got that
broken
for
Black
her, I
Dahlia
think
necklace.
I think he got that for her in Europe. And
Yes.
so it's one of those things I'm like, okay, she's holding that specifically. He did not tell her, I gave you that.
True.
She
Yep.
was holding that specifically and she was crying. And so it's really interesting. And I'm wondering, I do wonder what's
And,
going
there's big
on there.
question marks. So she's really smart. She put together he was Spider-Man in a previous movie. So, and she's also, I think in this movie talked about like gaps and always wondering why Spider-Man was always there to save them and whatnot. So even if she doesn't have the memories, she is very smart and I think would put together the gaps that happened and how that would link up with where he is meant to be in her memory. So I think she could piece that together enough, and there's potential that in piecing that together, she's just crying about what could have been or what was lost or all of that.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think it's a good question. So just like with Ned, could that then pull? Because here's the thing: a spell to remove Peter, but then everything else about life is the same. There's a gap there, and memories, you that's a very well, that's a very complicated spell based on how memory works. So it would make sense that if little pieces started getting lined up for them, that they would, even if they don't fully remember him, things would start to pull, and, essentially, like, the net of memories would start to kind of help them along to reconnecting some of the dots, even if the spell keeps them from remembering him specifically.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, yeah, I think it was very good the way that they did that. And
Yeah.
also, like, even when they showed how it changed Frank's mind about like what needed to be done,
Mm.
because he's like, that girl, he was like, she ended up being all right. She saved your life.
He's
And
like, "I don't
I'm
care if she kills people.
right. She's like, she
Just kill
saved,
the right ones or the
she ended
bad
up
ones."
being, she ended up being okay. She ended up being okay. And I'm like, yeah, just, okay, Frank, do you, okay. So many questions, but sure, you were the
So,
fun uncle in this movie. Like,
I I do think it seems like he realizes by the end of the movie that he was acting and reacting without getting enough of the facts. Because she's the exact kind of person that, I mean, there are complications with the mutant versus non-mutant and this, that, and the other, but he obviously is not a fan of corruption. And so they definitely lined up a lot more in terms of in this set of circumstances, in terms of who they would consider the bad guy and what they're willing to do about it. So yeah, I think that Frank learned he acts a little too quickly sometimes.
I, another thing that's interesting here, and so if you, if you haven't seen, this was one of those movies where a lot of it too, you needed to have been caught up with certain things in order for it to make sense. Because even like with Daredevil Born Again, like season 2, it's like, wait, why? How are Spidey and Frank just out here crime fighting? Oh, it's because Wilson Fisk is like, he's not around anymore. Or same thing, like the Hand. Why is it Daredevil here fighting the Hand right now? What do you mean Spider-Man defeated the Hand? No, he didn't. Like, it just,
So I would argue, I don't know. So when I watched it, I thought to myself, you don't necessarily have to have watched all of the other stuff. I don't know, because I felt like, I mean, I'm okay. Now, if people knew enough, they might say, like, wait, where's Fisk? Or wait, where's this, that, and the other. But if someone hasn't been following along, they might not know to ask those questions. And I feel like some of the things that they put in there to help tie all those things together were nice, like Easter eggy kind of things where if you knew, you knew. And if you didn't know, you could ignore it without it getting you stuck. That's the impression I had, but I admittedly haven't really talked to anyone yet who's seen the movie, but hadn't really watched the Punisher and Daredevil
well, see,
stuff recently.
if you hadn't watched any of it, it works out fine.
Yeah,
If you hadn't watched any of it, it works out fine. If you had watched some of it, you're like, okay,
I see what you're saying. Yeah,
police
if
are
you
completely against vigilantes. It's all out. Like, Fisk had the police in the city basically moving like ICE agents against
Yep,
vigilantes, like more or
yep,
less. Like if you, yeah, I
yeah.
and so if you watched that and it was one of those things like, oh, finish that second season, so this will make a
That's
little
fair.
bit more sense.
That's
Yeah,
fair.
that's
Yeah.
yeah, because yeah, Spider-Man. I mean, because when they showed the mayor, the new mayor, giving Spidey the key to the city, I'm like, that other one was not going to give you the key to
Nope.
the city.
Nope. Nope.
And you see Peter just playing with the key while he's sitting in the corner doing laundry. I'm like, oh,
I will say that I'm glad they allowed him to be in a New York City where he could maneuver with the city and, like, the detective he was working with and whatnot. So I'm glad that it wasn't Fisk's New York City that he was dealing with.
yeah,
So, yeah.
yeah,
I loved this movie. I am going to watch it again as soon as I can. Um,
yes,
I definitely I really enjoyed it. And I was curious because I was like, "Okay, Tom Holland, he's not kid Spider-Man anymore. How's that gonna go?" But he's
perfect,
still Tom Holland,
perfect.
who is
Yeah, it went
essentially
perfect.
Peter.
It went perfect. And
Yeah.
I'm interested in seeing. I have some theories about where I think they're gonna take it, but I'm interested in seeing if I am right about it because there's still so much Spider-Man to be explored. And I'm really hoping that we do get to see his versions of some of these classic
Yeah.
villains that we
And there's a chance because they really hit home, small potatoes, I think is what Yelena described it. So they really emphasized him being your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, which so
yeah.
happy about. In a way, like I think he keeps coming back to it, but this one really showed him living it. So I agree with you. It'd be really cool to see them play out
Yeah.
some of those other characters.
And they say small potatoes, but I'm like,
They're pretty big potatoes.
At what point do you get up? Because I mean, the Hulk is wrecking the damage control building like the Hulk, like, and that was something I was very happy to see. Like they gave us the Incredible Hulk. The Hulks that we had gotten the last few movies, he was pretty credible. They gave us the Incredible.
He was like, "I didn't know you got that big."
Yes, I was so glad because I feel like we had not seen that Hulk since
He was mad.
Edward Norton Hulk. Like we
He was
hadn't seen that Hulk
mad.
in a
Yeah.
long time. And so I was really, really happy
And
that
so, granted,
we saw that one.
that coming out the way it did, I could see Bruce Banner being like, "I need some mental help to maneuver the fact
Yeah.
that this is still capable of happening to me."
And that was something that I also wanted to touch on, like as far as like the psychology portion of this podcast, because there's so many different like like things when it comes to mental health where it's like, okay, this is a part of who I am versus this is something that legitimately I have to be treated for. Because there's certain things where, like I've heard, like with people with ADHD, it's like, yes, they can get medications or go through certain therapies to help with that. But having that also has its advantages. Like there's some things that they're naturally a bit better at because of it. Right. And I really like that they did this because even Bruce is talking about like, hey, I have this inhibitor. This is why I'm inhibiting this. But he even knows like, hey, make sure you're not inhibiting something that like yourself. Like if it's a part of you, you need to be the way that Magneto always said it, mutant and proud, right?
Yep.
Like
Yep.
you
Yeah.
need to like let it show. Like I can completely understand him saying like, no, this does not need to get out. This does not need to get out.
Well, and
And
part of it is probably informed by himself, but also remember She-Hulk has happened by this point
yeah,
also.
yeah,
And so he's seen that like, wait, there's even with Hulk stuff, it's not that easy. It's not that easy. It can present in different ways. And yeah, I'm a firm believer that everything has its pluses and minuses. Greatest weaknesses are greatest strengths and vice versa. With anything that a person struggles with, there tends to be some kinds of benefits from it. I'm not saying that those benefits outweigh the consequences or the cons of what's going on by any means.
hmm
But yeah, I think what you said is really helpful to keep in mind. So I mean, obviously there are advantages to Bruce Banner turning into the Hulk, or people would leave him alone and stop trying to get him to turn into this monster that can literally destroy the city. There's a cost that comes with that though, and so there's definitely potential that going to a psychiatric facility is him wanting to figure that out. I'm also like I'm also thinking though that if he was able to make a decision in this kinda scenario though, I think he'd go the route of, like, when Bruce Banner goes into the middle of nowhere and there's no one around and he kinda
Hmm.
does self-reflection, I feel like that's more likely what he would choose, and because like, y'all, there's virtual appointments now, so if he needs help,
Yeah.
I think he'd
Starlink's a
choose
thing.
I think he'd choose virtual instead of going somewhere where he's
Yeah, for sure.
theoretically locked up with other people that he doesn't wanna hurt. So,
It's a
that
big
part I
couch
was
to
like,
sit on.
interest like you said, it would be interesting to get a closer view of his life specifically because we only get
Yeah.
these little
Yeah. We do. But
snapshots.
I did love the way that he was like, you don't necessarily need to just try and hinder this or suppress it. Like if this is part of who you are, you gotta figure that out. And I love that it was him
Yes.
that this was coming from. It was him because like I remember like when Mystique was going through how she looked in the newer X-Men movies and she wasn't happy with it and all of that. And it was
And
very
Xavier's all like, "Well, you should accept blah, blah, blah," and she's like, "Easy for you to say."
right, right, right. And even he would be like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, you're blue. Turn back into
Yeah,
Jennifer Lawrence, please. Go,
yeah,
please. Like, can you just do that real quick?" And so even he had his
mhm,
problems when it came
yep,
to that. And so I love that of everybody they could have chosen to tell Peter like about this, it was him. Because
peer
you even
specialists.
yeah,
Sometimes you need to hear it from someone who's lived it.
right. And
Absolutely.
that's and it kind of and it, when I was watching it, it reminded me of when you told when I can't even remember which we talked about it a few times, the importance of support groups where you're there
Support groups. Yeah,
with people that have actually like gone through what you're going through and like understand what it's like. It's not just someone listening and giving opinion, it's someone listening
yeah.
and telling a story that's
Uh,
similar to yours.
yeah, there's also peer specialists, so they are certified specifically to tell their mental health story in a way to help support other people in mental health recovery. And so, you know what? At the end of the day, I might have great research and data and skill sets I can help someone learn, but sometimes someone will tell me like you can't understand what I've been through and you are not wrong. That is absolutely true. So Mystique or Spider-Man, the Hulk, I agree with you. I think that the message was is taken just so much more seriously coming from Bruce Banner in this
Hmm.
circumstance.
Yeah.
And once again, toyed with some very interesting storylines. They're overlapping like Avengers, Spider-Man stuff with X-Men stuff, and I
Yeah.
liked it. I dug it.
Well, and you saw Spider-Man finding his place, right? Because you see Yelena and she's with the Thunderbolts. She has a team, like the new Avengers, right? And then on the opposite ends of the spectrum here, you see Jean Grey, who's going full lone wolf by herself. You see Hulk, who you don't see him really with like someone close in it, but you see him still thrive. Like you see Bruce just thriving in society and
Yeah.
also not minding the banter about him being the Hulk with his classmates. And then you also see Frank Castle, who is a borderline misanthrope that is all about just like, don't touch anything. I'm a loner. I get stuff done by myself. I don't need anyone. Like you see all of these people, and then you get to see Peter interact with all of them, and then at the end pick his place
Yep.
where it's like, yeah,
And also the message from Punisher, I feel like does a similar thing as Hulk. So he gets mad at Peter for putting himself through the isolation that Frank had violently
hmm
forced upon him.
Right.
which he then choose to stick with, granted.
Right. Yeah.
But I think that was another really poignant, strong message where it's like, I'm not I'm not doing this because it's the best way of going about things. I mean, this is what happened to me, and this is not something that a person should choose.
Hmm.
So another, I think, really poignant person to get the message from.
And I also loved MJ's line when he said, like, I didn't tell you. And she was just like, that's not your decision to make.
Yeah.
Because it's one of those things where she's like, no, like, listen, if this is something that happened to me or something that affected me, like, that's not something you keep secret. Like, that's something that,
Yeah.
yeah. And I go back and forth on it because it's like, yeah, it is Peter's secret to tell, but I can also understand her being like, okay,
These are
you're telling
core
me.
memories of my life.
Yeah, it's essentially like, okay, I had amnesia and you just didn't tell me
Yeah.
what happened when you could have,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah,
so,
because I agree that is so the once again, I don't think she was upset by the fact that he did it. I think that she pretty quickly got to the point of like, I could see Spider-Man being in a situation where a decision like that might need to be made. Lots of weird stuff goes on, but more, yes, and he even promised MJ before, right?
right,
That he would fill in the
he promised
blanks
them both.
and
Yeah,
so like not giving her back her memories in as good of a way as he could. Yeah, I mean, that's a big yeah. She and Ned are gonna have a lot to process through with that. That's a toughie.
absolutely. It's a lot. It's a lot because the thing is, Doctor Strange doesn't even remember it. Like, that's the thing. Like, that spell really did work. I'm like, yeah, and so it'll be very interesting to see because my other thought was that maybe when Jean Grey did that attack, if that might have jogged their memories some as well, like
That's an
what
interesting.
what her abilities are, what she's able to do with her abilities going in people's mind
That's a good
and
point.
everything.
That's an interesting thought. Yeah.
Yeah, because when she went in there, I mean, she got in MJ's head. She's like, wow, there really is nothing in here about you. I was like, oof, dude, you
Yeah.
can stop cutting him. My
I
God.
know. Which could have been she could have been lying,
She could have
but
been.
I don't know if she was.
I
Yeah,
don't think she
yeah.
was. I
That's a
think,
good point. So there might not have been anything she could shake loose per se. Although once again, being in the mind sifting through is different than later on when she was like affecting the whole island essentially. So yeah, who
yeah,
knows?
yeah.
Good
But
stuff. People should
yeah,
watch this movie.
you should really, really watch this movie. I absolutely loved it. And I've yet to meet anybody that outright, I mean, there'll always be internet trolls,
Yeah,
and a lot of times those might be like bots, but who knows? But check the movie out and please let us know what you think. If there's something that you think we should have discussed that maybe we missed, seriously, comment on it. We read them. We do. And let us know what you would like for us to cover more, what you think we might see more of in the future in the MCU, because I certainly have my theories about where they're going to go with Spider-Man after this, and I think it's going to be a fun time. I love this movie way more than I thought I would.
yeah, same.
It was great, and yeah, go see it.
Thanks for nerding out with us. I'm clinical psychologist Dr. Amelia Brown.
And I'm educator and comic aficionado Keaton Hopkins. Check out my TV and movie reviews on YouTube at Team JVS. Check out our website at bat-therapy.com, our Bat Therapy YouTube channel, and follow us on social media. And don't forget our Patreon page at patreon.com/battherapy. See you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel.